Hello, this is Michelle Barr. I am live with you again. I've been getting a lot of watches and a lot of response and feedback on the video I made yesterday. This is a pop-up, spontaneous pop-up series. Yesterday was video 1. Welcome, come on in. Today is video 2. So if you missed video 1, you can go onto my Facebook page and find it. And you can also go to hashtag Spiritual Teachers Coaching the World. Yesterday, I talked all about how this whole thing started when I went to Louise Hay's birthday party and all about this journey and a lot of things, a fun manifesting story and a lot of things for spiritual teachers. I'm going to tag this video when I'm done with it, hashtag Spiritual Teachers Coaching the World, so you can go find all the videos I'm doing in the series. This is video number 2. I'm talking about what I put in the title, what I put in the post, what I am most afraid to tell you. And this is a big part of the spiritual teacher journey. Coaches will ask you, it's part of the process when you're really working with coaches that are good at helping you get out of your own way and get into your stuff so you can move forward. And coaches will ask you, what are you most afraid to let people know? And I always struggled with this. I really had trouble with this because I had a spiritual awakening very early in life. When I was 25, I worked in therapy and in alternative ways. Everything you can name, I worked on my stuff. I got a master's degree as a therapist and I worked in a psychiatric hospital. And as part of our teaching and training, we had to undergo individual and group therapy. And again, when I was getting my license and I went to seminary, I've done a lot of that really deep work. And I kept saying, I don't know what I'm afraid for them to know. I'm pretty transparent. I really always share my journey and talk and do all that. Thank you, Denise. Spiritual Teachers Coaching the World. Hashtag. It's great to see you all. Come on in. So I really wasn't sure, what am I actually afraid for people to know? And I took another deep dive last year in the middle of a very busy, very full business. I took a deep spiritual dive and I talked about it more on yesterday's video, so you can find out more about that. And here it is. What I am most afraid for you to know is that I want to make money. Now, I've dealt with it a lot, and even now that I'm saying it, it's still hard for me. Crazy, right? Because I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for a decade. I've had this business now. Thank you for the thumbs up and the hearts and all the love. Crazy, right? And this is exactly the journey of spiritual teachers and people building a spiritual business. And it's crazy. I see it happening with my clients, and then I catch myself in it. Every time you go to a new level, that stuff comes back around. So much so, it's still hard for me to say it. When I was saying it just now, a part of me is choking because I'm afraid for you to know that. I'm working with a coach on it right now, and she is pushing my boundaries because I need my boundaries pushed to another level. So I'm going to show you why it's so important to identify this yourself and what happens, because this is your gold mine. This is your transformation. So here I am, afraid to tell you I want to make money and sabotaging myself all along the way. Because what if you knew I wanted to help people and make money? I spent the first decade of my business being a helper and a healer. I didn't have a big private practice making really good money. I didn't go after those big jobs. I worked in nonprofit where I was paid by donations and grants. The people I was helping never even paid me. Do you see how on a subconscious level I set that up to be that way? But I'm an entrepreneur running a business. My business has costs. So what I see in a lot of my clients is, Oh, I need to make just enough money. I don't want very much money. They're already apologizing as they're telling me they want my help. Now, here's the thing. I was indoctrinated into two communities over time that have such a poverty consciousness and such a shame around you making money. And the first one won't surprise you, but the second one may or may not surprise you, but it's going to hit you right here. So the first one was I worked in nonprofit for a decade. And people are struggling. Talk about a dysfunctional environment as we're helping people. Everybody's broke, everybody's sick, everybody's struggling. Everybody comes in and out. They burn out. They're being used up. And it was tough, but I really knew I'm a helper and a healer. And you get in that environment and it becomes like, well, this is just the way it is. How noble. I got stuck in both of these communities with how noble to be poor and broke while doing this work. And I no longer believe that, because what I found, and I'll challenge you, I won't speak for you, what I found for me was that was my own way to hide, and it was my own stuff of not feeling worthy and not feeling good enough. So if I could hide behind it, I didn't have to ask for what I was worth. And I didn't have to ask people for money, and I didn't have to find out I might not be worth it. I thought, how noble. And that's what we're taught in a lot of communities, right? But it wasn't noble. It was me acting out my stuff and my ego keeping me safe. And I wasn't able to do my true work in the world and take care of myself. So that was the first community. Thanks for being a mentor rather than a martyr. Yes, Leslie, if you had known me back then, oh, I was a suffering saint. I ran domestic violence shelters. I did emergency room response. I ran crisis hotlines. I did sexual assault response. But part of that system is broken. It serves a need. It's just not where I'm meant to serve now. And I see where it was the perfect place for me to go and act out all my stuff and stay sick and stay broke. But it took a huge toll on my family. I had 3 children and a husband and a really busy life. The second community that I got indoctrinated into was the spiritual community. Now, this one makes me even more crazy, and I have to call it out, because I'm speaking to spiritual teachers and healers who are here to help people. Yes, never taught to receive, teaching to give and not receive. Go look up, and I'll teach it in my stuff. When I saw the law of attraction is not the only universal law. The law of giving and receiving is a universal law, and it's the infinity symbol. And I had to learn. We are here to always be giving and always be receiving, and step in the flow of the river where everyone else. If everyone was always giving and receiving, we would all have our needs met. But so many people are standing on the bank of the river saying, hey, would you throw me everything you have? And when I have enough, I'll step in and start giving. And it doesn't work that way. And so many people with so much to offer are doing that. When I stepped into the spiritual community, that was the second community. And this is why it makes me so crazy. We love to sit around and talk. My little healing center was full 24/7. Manifesting circles, commanding wealth circles, healing our stuff. All of this. We love talking about the infinite and abundant universe we live in. And most of us are not living it. Most of us are not living it. And I wasn't. So again, I got into a community where it was very safe, where everybody got together and we all held hands and we said, nobody pays for this important work we do. We're all so good and we do this really good work. I saw it. I lived it. I opened a community and then I went crazy seeing it. People with the kind of gifts that will blow the top of your head off. And they're sitting there in this story, and I fell right into it because I'd already been indoctrinated in the nonprofit world. And they say, people don't pay us what we're worth, but we're doing God's work. We're using our gifts. And some buy into we shouldn't be paid for those gifts because they're from God. And you know what? Every gift is from God. The carpenter, the doctor, the lawyer, the yoga teacher, the healer. You're actually supposed to be paid most for the thing that is so easy and comes the most natural to you. We are empaths and intuitive and helpers and healers and feelers. And so we get into a lot of that, and we don't command what we're worth, and we don't take care of ourselves. When I finally realized, because I was always working for the highest good of all, if the highest good of all does not include me, it is not for the highest good. So some of you just getting on, the thing I was most afraid to tell you that I'm talking about is I want to make money. And when I finally came to it, after coaches asking me, what is it? And me saying, I don't know. I tell people everything. I've done all these years of work, and it's part of who I am and what I do. I couldn't believe it. So I kept feeling into it. So here's the key. That is exactly what I ended up selling. What I had the most struggle with, and I was going to fight it and fight it. But after working in nonprofit and then closing my expensive hobby, thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much. I finally had to get real with it. Am I having a business or not? And this is the crossroads I tell people when you come to. It's perfectly fine to say, no, I'm going to do this as a volunteer, and I'm going to go do a job to pay me, and then I'm going to give this work away. But then don't sit there and don't regret and resent and blame and feel sorry and be a martyr. Hello, welcome. Come on in. Because it won't serve you. And it's so easy to do, especially in the spiritual community and the nonprofit world. It's almost like they come in and they wrap this warm blanket around you and they say, we're all broke. Nobody pays us what we're worth, but we do this work for the good. And then I saw mentors and teachers and coaches, healers and helpers, making money and having huge impact in the world. And where I had been struggling trying to have a nonprofit and work nonprofit, and then I needed that to feed my family and take care of me, I saw they were building for-profit businesses as spiritual teachers with spiritual gifts. And then they were doing a give back. They were creating a nonprofit out of the money they were making, and they're doing amazing things in the world. And now I'm able to give back like that instead of the other way that wasn't working. Whenever on Facebook, there's that one thing where they ask, if you could solve one problem in the whole world, what would it be? And people say, clean water, food for everyone, get rid of hunger. Every time I answer poverty consciousness. It is pervasive and crazy, like I said. We walk around telling everyone we live in an infinite and abundant universe. We read all the books. We listen to Hay House Radio. We subscribe to our notes from the universe. All these things, and yet we're not living it. And if you're not living it, there's a disconnect. You don't believe it. When I finally realized that was the thing I was most afraid to tell you, that I still stumble over, because then I found before I ever hit $50,000 a year, I had never made $50,000 a year in my life. So inside of me was like, well, as long as I make under $50,000 a year, I'm struggling, but I'm doing this good work. I'm a good person. And that's the way it is. That's what everybody says, how it has to be. And I kept myself, because making $50,000 at one time in my mind somewhere was, no, that's too much. Then I finally had a breakout year, 2015. I told you some in the last video, and I teach you all the things I did. And quickly, because I had a breakthrough, a money breakthrough, it took me years to make just under 50,000. In less than a year, I doubled it. I broke through the 100,000, and it was easier because I healed that piece. Then again, I bump up to it because now, well, what if I make enough money? Well, now what if I have more money? Well, what if I wanted to be wealthy? What else has really hit? I mean, you'll get spiritual backlash in the community, yet here's what I'm going to tell you. If everything was all sunshine and hunky-dory and those people really want to live simply, I say some people want to live simply. Then live simply by all means, but don't say you're happy doing it when you're struggling and you're broke, because those are the people calling me, y'all, every day, every week, every month, crying in distress, distraught, helpless, hopeless, desperate, that they need money and they want money. This has to be healed. One thing that I always get up on my soapbox about, and I'm being nudged right now to say it because it's something people are doing, and it builds resentment and it builds all kinds of upset, is people that say they're in business and they hold a workshop or a class or their services and they ask for a love donation. Stop it. If you are not a nonprofit, you are not working for donation. But do you see how insidious this is? It works its way in. That's your ego protecting yourself. Well, I'm just working for love donations. Well, is that donation going for clean water or save the elephants or feed the hungry children? You are not a charity. Quit acting like one. You do not ask for love donations, because here's what happens. Yes, stop that. Kim knows. She and I are on the same page with this. For years, we tell our clients, stop it. Because here's what happens. Then those people go, I held a workshop. I gave my all. I gave hundreds of dollars worth of value. I asked for love donations and I didn't get what I expected. Well, no, because you asked for donations. Anytime you don't stand in your worth and you ask other people to tell you what you're worth, they're not going to do it. And I've actually surveyed a lot of people because I was feeling this way and I knew I wasn't the only one. People actually get very uncomfortable and they don't want to do business with you anymore when you do set your own fee, choose what you're going to pay, love donations. If you are a business, you are in business, and it can be spiritual. So then I end up over time with this platform I totally did not want, spirituality and money. If you're familiar with human design, hand analysis, numerology, birth path, and astrological chart, every one of those tells me my human design is so about this, it made me crazy. Because it said, you're here to teach people wealth, wealth, wealth. And here I am afraid to tell you all I want wealth, much less I want money. Now here is one piece that will motivate you besides feeding your family, taking care of yourself, running a business which costs money, and having the impact you are here to make. I quickly learned the reason I finally built a six-figure business is because I need to travel and speak and do all these things. And so I had to get out in the world, and my business needs to pay for that. But here's the true motivation. My highest value is freedom and my spiritual journey. And entrepreneurship is a spiritual journey like nothing else. It will grow you like nothing else. And it's not for everyone, but it's amazing. And my highest value is to have the spiritual journey I'm here to have, and the spiritual journey I am made to have and want to have and called to have, and to not have money make my decisions. There's a self-care element too. When you hold space and energy for people, absolutely. And when you're taking care of people, this is what I saw in nonprofit and the spiritual community. It is extreme self-care that is needed to do this work. I work all day long, every day, with my left brain and my right brain fully activated. I show up at every session with my clients intuitive, energetic, and strategic. I need self-care, and I need to keep working on my spiritual journey to heal my money crap so I can help you all heal your money crap. All of that. So every single time I look into my Akashic records, my soul map, my hands, my human design, all of it says wealth. So wouldn't it make sense? That's the thing I struggled with and was afraid to talk about. And when I first took that platform about spirituality and money and charging for your gifts, I got a lot of hate mail, y'all. It scared me. But then I knew it's polarizing and it's my message. And here I am now. If you watch my first video that you can go back and watch on my page or by looking up hashtag spiritual teachers coaching the world, I talk about this movement. And so a part of that of spiritual teachers is first stepping out and claiming it, which I talked about yesterday, and then right away you have to deal with the money. We talked yesterday about Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer, Sylvia Brown, Sonia Choquette, Carolyn Mace, Doreen Virtue, all the Hay House people as just one model. Abraham, Esther Hicks, all of them. And once a client, I have to share this because I giggle because I've been there too. One of my clients said, I hate all this marketing and promoting. I don't want to have to do it. I just want people to come to me like the people who are at Hay House. And I paused and with total love, I said, are you kidding me? Are you on their email list? They are a marketing machine, every one of them. Get on their email list. They are a marketing machine. They sell every day. They ask for money every day. They email their website. They are a marketing machine, and they are spiritual teachers revered all over the world doing sacred work. You can be both. They traveled all over the world. They live well. They have to. You cannot hold the high vibration it takes to be a spiritual teacher coaching the world if you are living in fear and despair and hopelessness and toxic environments and doing work you don't love and then giving your sacred work away for free. No. The reason I was indoctrinated first into, I'm struggling with that word, indoctrinated first into that nonprofit world and then that spiritual community like I was because I was a match for it. My own money, stories, and energy were a match for it. Thank you. Welcome. If you come in when I'm done with this, you'll be able to go back and watch the rest of the video and see video 1 from yesterday. Welcome. The reason I got stuck in those paradigms, and really my ego loved it because I got to stay small and a victim, and I didn't have to take risk and step out in the world, and everybody else was saying, it's just what is. But here's the truth, universal law. Whatever you say is. And that's what I was saying what is. I got in those communities and got stuck there for a while because I was a match for it. And because of my own stories and energy. And if you're around people, I have a client right now struggling because a very good friend of hers, for whatever reason, is being triggered, who's not even going to need to hire her and pay her, and is trying to tell her, stop it. You have a good job. Stop trying to be a spiritual teacher. You're charging too much. Even took a screenshot of her page to try to prove to her that she's charging too much. People get triggered and it's hard. And yet I'm going to tell you, when you're a spiritual teacher and leader and you get into this online world and you go out on stages, you're going to be polarizing. You are going to have an impact, and that's the power in it. You're going to take a stance. Whatever you say is. That is universal law. And yes, Starlin, energy flows where attention goes. And where energy goes. So wherever you are putting your attention. So you can see how I created this. Now here's the great news. What I was asking for was to be the spiritual teacher I am, even when I didn't know what it looked like. I have these gifts awakening. I'm a helper and healer. The good news is what I was asking for was to live my soul purpose. The universe comes in and orchestrates it, and we can pay attention to the nudges, or we can wait for the cosmic 2x4, the brick to the head. And I used to do that. Now I don't anymore. I have learned not to be motivated by pain and not to move from pain, but to move toward pleasure instead of away from pain. Think about it. It was a huge paradigm shift for me. Most people stay where they are until they're motivated by pain. But you have this huge desire and you're asking, and when you ask, the universe has to deliver. Ask and it is given is universal law. It is found in every sacred text across the world through all time and space. But we don't believe it, because the universe is then trying to deliver to us what we're asking for. And if we don't take aligned action toward what we say we want most, the universe has to get us out of our own way to give it to us. So I kept saying, help me live my soul purpose. Why am I having all these money issues? Why am I having these health issues? Why is all this crap happening to me? Because I had to work through it, because that is what my soul purpose is. And it can be staggering at first. My sole purpose is to get spiritual teachers out in the world with their message, coaching the world and making money, getting paid well to do it. I'm here to teach you to be the contribution you are here to be and get paid well for it. And that get paid well for it is the part I struggled with. But the universe was delivering all this to me. The first thing I do when I have a client struggling through something is I say, this is very real. You're going through it. This is your spiritual journey and it's real. And because you are on this path, you are working this out so you can turn around after you walk through the fire and help other people. What you are going through right now, you will be selling next year, to really simplify it. And I had a client really struggling last night because I said, you don't just go learn this stuff, you live it. My entire 6-figure business now, my full-time business, I have not been employed since 2006. I decided I'm doing this no matter what, is built on me living a journey and sharing the journey and growing and turning around and helping others. So I have grown and evolved, and my business has grown and evolved. That's what I want to share with you today so that you really see. And think about this, because so many coaches ask me this, and you have to go deeper and deeper and deeper. Because really, us spiritual people and us helpers and healers and spiritual teachers and leaders and energy workers and intuitives, we know a lot of stuff about ourselves. I love transformation. I love digging deep. I love getting in all that. I over love processing. I've been called out on some of my coaches because of that. So you might think you know. So I challenge you not to answer here, but what are you afraid for other people to know? Start there. That's the clue. And if you're called to be a spiritual teacher, if you've watched those great role models that we have, and you're called with this message inside of you to do this thing, it's a journey. It's a journey I've been on. It's a journey I'm called on more now than ever to step out and call these spiritual teachers. The past few years, I kept getting this real intuitive message that, Louise Hay isn't going to be around forever. She's going to move on. I mean, she was already in her late 80s and she's going to move on. Yes, Kim, thank you for the hearts and love. We've had these conversations. Wayne Dyer moved on. Louise Hay moved on. There are lots of people out there, but there are lots of people waiting to step into being those spiritual teachers. And the world is awakening at such a rate. You can't have too many, because you're going to gather as a spiritual teacher, your community with your message. People are going to watch me and either love me or not love me, and some send me hate mail. So how scary, and yet I still have to say, yes, You can use your spiritual gifts and be a spiritual teacher and leader, and you can make money, and you can make a lot of money. And working through my own stuff. So that next level for me would be, what if you want to be wealthy? What if you can be wealthy and here you are getting shamed? Yet we have the role models. The great thing about stepping out and building the business I built, there were times in that business where I got to a place where other people would have been really happy, or they think they would, because I hit my first dream, which was having a local business on my historic downtown square that was profitable. And then I realized, oh, I'm called to much more. Welcome. Come on in, y'all. When I'm done with this, you can go back and watch from the beginning and be on the page here and catch up with everything I'm talking about. So you can build this to any level. I have studied for the past few years with my coaches. In the past, I was saying this to some clients recently, so I went back and looked. In the past 4 years at least, all of my coaches have had multi-million-dollar coaching businesses. At one time, I thought, that's what I want, with a big staff and a big office. But no, I value freedom and my spiritual journey, so I've revamped. At one point, I wanted that little profitable practice on the historic downtown square, and I created it. Then the big multi-million-dollar business with all the clients, with all the staff. And I may decide at some point that I want that. So I've studied with them to get their help, because they can feed me and feed me fast, and I move and I get my clients into action, and I take aligned action toward what I say I want most. And this is a nugget I want you to take right now. If you are wanting something and you're struggling or challenged, or you don't have what you want, take honest inventory right now, this weekend. Spend some time. Are you taking aligned action toward what you say you want most? You either are or you're not. And if you're not taking aligned action toward, you're taking action away from. Get real, get honest with yourself. So here I am building this. And what I was telling you then is, not everybody wants to make big money, but you should have as much as you want and need. I had a mindset coach tell me this, and it was one of those aha moments, because I always live by, well, if I had this much money, that's all I would need. Then it would be good. They did this great survey, really big survey, and it's been around a long time. And they surveyed people from poverty level to multimillionaires, maybe even some billionaires. And every time they asked them, how much money do you need that you're good, that you're satisfied? And every time they doubled what they were making now. It will change. So my point is, as you're working through this spirituality and money and using your gifts and asking for what you're worth and being paid and not showing up in the world as a charity, if you're a business, that's your first decision. You don't have to build a giant business. You may not know what you want, but don't struggle with just enough. If I could just get by, because then I'm noble. I'm not asking for too much. Here is the one. If you absorb nothing else, I've given you a few I want you to absorb, but here is one. You having more money will never cause anyone else to have less. I promise. You having more money will never cause anyone else to have less. And yet that's what we do. And here we are saying we believe in an infinite and abundant universe, but we're not modeling it and we're not living it, and it's not within our grasp. Money is not a reflection of your value. You are valuable. You are a precious child of God. You are a divine spark. Money is a reflection of the value you are putting out into the world, and of whom much is given, much is expected. More power you get, the more responsibility you have. And so when all this is inside of you, the more I shared it and would step out and be me and share my true value instead of trying to do jobs I can do, I should do, they'll work for now, they pay the bills, I made more money and my life was blessed. Not just money, because abundance is in every form. Healed marriage, healed children, healed relationships with the rest of my family, living my dream life, creating what I want and where I want to be living and how I want to be living. You can build this that I talk about at every level. That's where I want to go back now. I didn't finish that thought because my head is full of things for you. This mindset mentor told me true financial freedom comes when you know how to make as much money as you need and want when you need and want it. And when I shifted that and I learned how to do that, I've made some videos for you this year. My Joe Vitale video and my creating $7,500 in 2 weeks video, all of those are because he challenged me. True financial freedom is being able to make all the money you want and need when you want and need it. And it's in your languaging. I'm going to keep teaching about all this because now I'm like, oh, I'll keep you on here all day. And you can only absorb so much at once. And you can also go to hashtag spiritual teachers coaching the world and watch yesterday's video to get caught up. This is a little pop-up series I'm doing, and I'll hashtag all of them so you can find them. I want you to know I have a group, a free group and community where we're in there supporting each other and working on all this. Spiritual teachers coaching the world. So come on into my group too. I teach and train. I show up. You have the community. This is important stuff. If this is you, if this is calling to you, don't limit yourself by any other standard of what other people are going to think or feel or do. Sometimes you're afraid if I make too much money, I'll get kicked out of the tribe. I'll lose my friend groups. When I left my little spiritual community of the broke people, some people rallied me on and were right there with me, and others said, who do you think you are? What do you think you're charging? What do you think you're doing? And I was so excited running to them. Here, I found it. So I want you to get this. This will be my last thought, I think. And then I'll close this up for today. Some of them didn't want to hear it because then that meant they couldn't stay in their story that it can't work and it can't happen. And I was so excited, like I found it. Here it is. We can all have it. And I got so much backlash. Because then I was a reminder that you can do it. Then their stories are just stories. I was no longer a match for that story and I fell out. But I lost part of that community and the people. And hate mail's hard to take sometimes. But if you're going to be a spiritual teacher and leader and you're going to step out and have a business and you're going to speak, you're going to be polarizing. So here, if you're not polarizing, you're not speaking it yet. You're not doing it yet. If you're not polarizing, you want to be polarizing so that the people who are not about you can say, I'm not about you and go their own way. And the people who are your people hear you and come running towards you with their hands raised. If you're not being polarizing yet, you're playing it safe. And it's scary at first. I have clients doing it now. That's why I'm there supporting and guiding them. So hashtag spiritual teachers coaching the world will get you all the videos so you don't miss any. And go to my group, Spiritual Teachers Coaching the World. They'll be in there too. Thank you all for showing up. I see new people. I see new friends. I see old friends. I see people that were in this community with me. When I close, you can go watch the whole video and just really sit with some of these truth bombs that I have dropped on you today. Because when you absorb them, they'll change everything. Because the bottom line is when I drop those on you and you let them land, those are the things that I changed. Not being a match for that anymore. my own stories and energy, and it changed everything. Hi, it's so good to see you. I'm finishing up here, but then you can go watch the video. So go back and listen to this, grab those different truth bombs, let it land, think about this. Watch for my next pop-up series because I have more to share. Thank you all for being with me. I love you. I'm so glad you're in my community, and dialogue with me. I'm on Facebook every day in the group and on my page. Let's keep the conversation going, and I'll have more for you. I took a bunch of notes as all of this was being placed on my heart. So I have more for you. Thank you all. Have a great day and a great weekend.